Hello everyone, before this video starts, I would appreciate if you guys would leave a like and subscribe, since your support means the world to me and allows me to make these types of videos. Now let's get into the video. I experienced strange things while pet sitting for my grandparents. Now I'm worried that I've seen too much for my own good. Have you ever known someone your whole life and then something happens that makes you completely reevaluate your relationship with that person? What if that person was a relative? What if they were involved with something that would usually constitute calling the police? Would you call the police? Should I? A little over a week ago, my grandparents were going out of town. They were going to be gone for a week and offered to pay me to pet sit their dog. All I had to do was walk the dog down the road, feed her, and clean up after her. The pet sitting fit into my work schedule, so I was happy to take care of their dog. Plus, they were my grandparents after all. It was the least I could do. The first day went about as expected. I used a set of spare keys to enter through the side of the house. The inside of the house was really cold. It was so cold I worried the air conditioning unit might stop working, so I changed the thermostat back to a comfortable room temperature. I'm not sure the exact breed of my grandparents' dog, but she's a tiny brown dog named Johnny. Taking care of her was easy. She wasn't very messy, didn't eat large portions of food, and only walked a little before getting tired. Even if she were difficult, it's like I said, I wouldn't have minded helping out my grandparents. I finished up my first day by making sure the garage door was open so my grandparents' cats could come in at night. I had no instructions for the cats because, they're cats. They take care of themselves better than I could probably. In total, I wasn't there for more than 30 minutes, and I figured the rest of the week would go the exact same. On day 2, I returned to the house and it was freezing cold again. The thermostat had been set really low again, and I assumed it was some sort of auto feature. However, I couldn't shake the idea that someone had reset it themselves. I blamed this on the fact that when my cousins would come over to my grandparents' house when we were younger, we all tried to spook each other with scary stories. I was probably just reaping those stories which I had sown. That was until I saw that the garage door was closed. I was confident I hadn't closed it. I was starting to get not necessarily freaked out, but I felt tense, like I was anticipating someone to jump out at me. I finished up my tasks, especially enjoying my time walking Johnny outside of the house. I opened the garage door again and changed the thermostat again. I have to admit that at this point I was curious to see if it would change. After this, I quickly left. As I left, although I didn't want to admit it, I knew I had seen Johnny staring at the basement door. The third day nearly did it for me. Like I had feared, both the thermostat had been changed and the garage door was closed. Honestly, though, at the time it felt like this validated both of my theories I was using to cope. It was possible that these were just automated changes done every day at a certain time, and what were the actual chances of someone being in the house? I once again did what I needed to and finished by walking Johnny. When we returned home, we hadn't even gotten all the way in through the side door when I saw something that made me turn around and leave, taking Johnny with me. The basement door was wide open. I didn't see anything else besides the open door, but I'd seen enough movies to know that I shouldn't investigate it. I actually took Johnny home with me and just kept her overnight. I told my parents what had happened, and they said that I should text my grandparents to see what they wanted me to do. I thought this was a sort of odd answer. I wanted to know if they thought I should call the police, but they insisted on texting them. I ended up texting my grandmother. I'll copy our exact conversation. "Hey Nana, I went over to take care of Johnny today, and when I got back from walking her, your basement door was open and I hadn't opened it. The house seemed to be in perfect condition, but I'm wondering if someone broke in. What would you like for me to do? Should I call the police? My parents told me you would know what to do. Thanks, and sorry for bothering. Love you." It was a pretty typical message. This was her reply. "Hi, my name. Do not worry, the lock is broken. The draft pushes open sometimes. Do not call the police. We are having a good time on our trip. We love you." Her response was somewhat uncanny to me, but I just attributed that to how old people text. Our older messages weren't really any different. I responded, "Okay, I was just checking. I'm glad you two are having a good trip." Her message, "Do not call the police. We love you." On the fourth day, my fears were not quenched. I took Johnny back over to their house, but this time I brought my younger brother with me. We are both big guys, so I felt some reassurance with him tagging along. I showed my brother the basement door. It was still open. This comforted me because maybe the door's lock really was broken. The basement also did have strangely great airflow. My brother insisted we look through the basement, but I told him no way. He said he was going to go whether or not I went with him, and this got me. I was still convinced someone might have been in the house, so I didn't want him to be down there alone. He descended the stairs. I turned the lights on, revealing a basement that looked normal as ever. I had a pocket knife on me, so I wasn't completely ill-prepared for a possible confrontation. Knowing my brother, he probably had one on him too. Johnny never left our side. She actually took off down the steps after my brother. When my brother got to the bottom of the staircase, I checked the basement door. There was a lock, and after warning my brother, I closed the door and checked the lock. It worked perfectly. I opened the basement door again and started going down the stairs. It was too weird that my grandmother had presumably lied to me. I needed to get my brother out of the house. I could just feel it. I made my way down the steps and saw my brother fiddling with a second locked door. It was small, probably for storage, or so I was hoping. As he messed with the lock, Johnny started barking at it wildly. "Don't open that, dude! Let's go!" The door, although small, had multiple locks on it. Something felt horribly wrong. As kids, this specific door had been the center of many of our scary stories, and always for good reason. Something was mysterious about the door, and we had caught on to it even as children. My brother had undone some of the locks, but there was one that required a key. Johnny was still barking furiously at the door. Her barks almost had me interested in what was behind it, but not fully. I heard my brother exclaim subtlety, and I saw him walking to the door. As he passed me, he jangled a single key in triumph. I just stood there. I wanted to see what was on the other side. The door opened without a sound. As soon as it did, the temperature in the room dropped noticeably. I couldn't take my eyes off the now open door. The room, to our surprise, opened up into a large space. We found a light switch and flipped it. The walls of the room were just exposed earth and rock like a cave. The room looked like it had been carved out, though. The rock walls were uniform all the way around the room, forming a dome shape. Water ran down the walls and the air smelled of organic waste. The centerpiece of the room was a hole about the size of a manhole. It clearly wasn't one, as it consisted of the same material as the walls. My brother and I approached it cautiously. Johnny had stopped barking and hadn't entered the room. The light overhead illuminated the hole, but we couldn't see the bottom. A horrible stench rose out of the hole. My brother let out a hello down the hole. I tapped his shoulder and mouthed, "Let's get the hell out of here." We began to turn when a noise arose from the hole. It wasn't one noise, it was multiple. They were clearly human screams. It sounded as if dozens of people were in the hole, and the voices sounded like they had traveled up the hole for miles. The screams were so desperate, so stricken with agony. I'd never heard anything like it, and I'd bet I never will again. Instantly, tears were brought to my eyes. The cries of those people were that painful. We didn't even make an effort to cover our tracks. My brother and I went home without speaking a word. By the time our mom got home that night, we had calmed down enough to tell her what we'd seen. All she had to say was, "Don't call the police, and make sure your grandparents don't find out you went down there." That night I was plagued with those animalistic, but so discernibly human screams. It was like the voices had been pleading with us in a futile attempt to get them out of that hole. I can't remember if I even ever slept. I still have trouble sleeping now, days later. My parents told me they'd take care of Johnny for the rest of the week, and I think they tried to cover for me and my brother. I don't know if it worked, though, because today, my mom told me and my brother that our grandparents wanted us to come over and talk. Her voice was trembling, even though she was trying to hide it. My grandparents want us to come over tomorrow. My brother and I are freaked out and don't plan on going if we can help it. What the hell are we supposed to do? I mean, they're just our grandparents. They won't hurt us, will they? A memory I have from the first day of taking care of Johnny has been on the forefront of my mind. I was walking Johnny down the street to a park when a neighbor stopped me. She was an elderly woman squinting at me from her mailbox, holding up a hand to block out the sunlight. She asked me, "How's it eating?" "Johnny? Oh, she's eating well, I think." I answered awkwardly. "Oh, you're not your grandfather, yes?" She must have assumed I was my grandfather because of the sunlight. "Oh, no," I laughed, and then she just turned around and walked towards her house slowly. I heard her mumble under her breath, "Oh, never mind then." Thank you for watching the video fully. Please hit the like and subscribe button, since I could not make these videos without your support, and it means the world to me.